pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Ooh, I've been on the flex since flex zone. Neighborhood all in your eardrums. I ain't never scared like Bone Crush. Boy, I got God, don't fear none. My line busy, take no calls. Feels like I don't have no flaws. Snakes in the grass, cut those off. Your old squad shady, my bros raw. No breaks, we go, 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 go. Throw shade, that's a no, 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 no. Go high, go low, low, low. Like spinning in a 644. Cash money like 504. Ball like AD24. No sleep, need more, more, more. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Ooh, I'm a real one, my day ones. Try speak up, can't say none. Try dig dirt, there ain't none. I make the money that save up. 10 to 80, my save ones. Take to the top on the base one. New car, race on. Fast lane, pace on. With the booyah, that's a flex. Now human, I am from another planet. I'ma teleport, might vanish. I'ma wake up, do damage. Join number 7.
Hello, welcome in everyone to CCF. My name is Jonathan Cronenberg. How's everybody doing today? I hope you're doing well. We got some college football up and some college basketball, but joining me first, let's go with Tony. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm feeling good. I'm back, boys. 1 week absence, but ready to talk some Buffs. And below me are my two Air Force compatriots, Rick Baum and AJ Ruffin. How are you boys doing tonight?
Good evening. We're good. I'm looking forward to this show and our guest. And we did miss you last week, Tony. I was telling the guys that it seemed like we were destined to be 3 for a while, and that may be the future. So, how you doing today, AJ?
Doing well. I got the Cleveland Browns on right now, my Brownies, and we're up 20-7. We're getting ready to clinch a playoff spot. So. Doesn't happen very often, but when it does, I get excited about it.
Oh, hail Joe Flacco.
Oh, Joe Flacco, baby. The chosen one.
Yeah, definitely. Guys, you guys watching any other college bowl games? Anything going on your radar?
Well, if you look at social media, it seems like the Pop-Tart Bowl is the most exciting thing since Pop-Tarts, I guess. Because as you could see, the mascot coming out of a toaster just blew social media's mind. And, of course, they had dogs during halftime show. So it's basically the two things you need most. And John and I were talking about it. It's going to be a question that we spring onto Rick and AJ. But since it's the Pop-Tart Bowl, we have to ask, what is your favorite flavor of Pop-Tart? Because personally, I have to give a shout out to Explorado Market up in Fort Collins. They make their own version of Pop-Tarts, and they have a wonderful brown sugar cinnamon. So that's my favorite flavor. What is your boys' favorite flavor of Pop-Tart?
Well, I got to go. They got that rainbow-looking one. I'm not sure what the flavors are supposed to be, but it's just really sugary.
I think for me, I don't think I've had a Pop-Tart since elementary school. So, an actual Pop-Tart. Now, we have a cafe, coffee place here in town called Story Cafe. And every once in a while, they have like these homemade Pop-Tarts that are really good. But if I had to pick one, probably like strawberry. Is that one?
Yeah. Strawberry would be for me. And but I was just looking at the score to the Pop-Tart Bowl. It looks like Kansas State is going to pull over NC State Wolfpack. They're in the fourth quarter, 56 seconds left. We'll see how that turns out. But yeah, that's definitely a surprise. I've seen a lot of ACC teams just not do well so far.
No. And on that subject of Pop-Tarts, have you guys seen some of the cool mascots in these bowl games this year? We have a Pop-Tart. We have the Spud from the Idaho Potato Bowl. We have the King Cheez-It. And then there's, I think, one more in there too. But what a great year for bowl game mascots.
They had a mayo. I don't know what
mayo,
they used for the mayo. Like it just felt like the pouring it over him, and I don't know what the mascot was. I think there was a tub of mayo.
It's a jar. He's a jar of mayo. Yeah, that's what it was.
But,
that's the fourth one I couldn't think of. Yeah,
$10,000 for him getting it poured over him.
Yeah,
no, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and then the Idaho Potato Bowl is always a great one because they dump a 5-gallon bucket of French fries in the winning coach.
That's what I was going to say is, do you guys want to be, and s'mores Pop-Tarts are superior. I will take that, Graham. They were very, very good. I can't argue with you about the s'mores. But would you guys rather be dunked in fries, mayo, or coffee? Because those are the three that I have seen.
So fries 100%.
Fries.
Yeah, I think so. You can get out of there quick.
I work the graveyard shift. Coffee.
You need that caffeine kick. Perfect.
Got it. Well, you guys ready to talk some a little bit of some sports? Let's start with CU. Sound good? Some basketball there?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So I have been routinely looking at the schedule because it feels like I've just been missing something. And if you're like everyone else, I don't know if other teams are going through this with the schedule. But since December 5th, do you guys know how many basketball games both the men's and women's side has played? They have played 3 games since December 5th. I don't know if other teams' schedules have been like this. I know theirs was very travel intensive at the very beginning of the season, but we just haven't seen them play. And I'm excited to see it because coming up this weekend, we're going to start conference play. So we're actually going to get into the last season of playing in the Pac-12. Now, the men are going to be tipping it off on Friday against Washington. That's a 7 p.m. game in Boulder. Should be a really good indicator of how far this team has come. It seems like the men have really turned the corner since losing to CSU up in Fort Collins. They've won 4 straight games and have won by 20 points or more in each game. Now, the competition has not been the best, but sprinkled in there was the blowout of Miami, which was a top 15 team at the time that they played. So we're going to be really excited to see if they have turned a corner going into conference play. And of course, the women just keep moving along. They stay at 8 every week because, again, they just have played 1 game since December 5th. Now, again, they blew that team out. Looked a little rough at parts versus Northern Colorado. I know they think the Bears jumped out to a 14-0 lead, but from then on out, they won by more than 20 points. So they start off with a really tough matchup that I'm hoping to attend in person against Utah, which is another top 10 team. That'll be on December 30th, Saturday at 1 p.m. So I'm excited to see them get into the meat of this schedule. Anything you guys want to know about those teams? What are you seeing from them besides the lack of games played?
Well, I was curious just about the health of both of these teams. What happens, now since they've had this time? Is Cody Williams going to be healthy now? Are they going to be able to really burst and show what they can do, come out the gates, like you said, with this, getting into conference play? Do you think that they're health-wise, they're solid?
The women are healthy. They have not had to deal with any kind of injury issues. They've been at full strength all year. So I hope to see that continue because you and I know, John, I've been preaching this all year. They're a national title contender if they're healthy. So I really think they can go that far and they could play that well. They could stack up against any team in the country. Mm-hmm. Where we're really worried is on the men's side because, yes, they have blown these teams out, but they've been missing their, stud, their 5-star prospect, Cody Williams, and he's been dealing with a wrist injury. I'm hopeful we'll see him. I've seen trending. Hopefully he's going to be able to play on Friday and be available to start. But that's one of those injuries there you see it, you need a wrist to play basketball. That's going to affect your dribbling. It's going to affect your shooting. It's going to affect your defense. So I'd rather them take the time to get him right and make sure he's ready for the push into conference play. And maybe that's what they've done with these last 3 games.
Yeah, I think one of the big questions, and it's kind of around all of college basketball. I know we have some other conferences who are kind of playing deep in Christmas break and whatnot, but how they come out after that long stretch. The players go home, I'm assuming, for Christmas, Christmas, they're eating the cookies. They're getting into mom's cooking and stuff like that. So those few games coming out of break, I think, are going to be huge for both the men's and women's programs, especially as they get deeper into conference play. Because we talked about the women's team being a national title contender. These first 2 or 3 games after Christmas into the new year are going to be massive tellers as to how the rest of the season is going to go.
Absolutely agree. I would argue that you saw some rustiness from the women when they went down to a team that they should handle and did handle. But, they went down 14-0 to Northern Colorado. It seems like it hasn't affected the men. The men have just been firing on all cylinders. I mean, they've scored over 90 points. Like I said, they've won every game by 20 since they lost to CSU. Maybe that game lit a fire under them. I'm not sure. I mean, you could see the passion when we talked to the players and the coach after that game. Could have been a turning point in their season. You know, you never really take a lot from losses, but seems to have worked in their favor. So I hope they continue that play. And Washington and Washington State theoretically are teams they should be able to handle. But you did see some rustiness out of the women, so I hope that's just a one-game thing because Utah, you can't rest against them.
No, not at all. You know, with it being kind of the way you described with a small number of games, I think all three of our teams are dealing with the Christmas break stuff and the transition to conference play. John, how are the CSU Rams looking?
The CSU Rams, they're looking good, honestly. Like Tony was saying, it's been a long time since they played. Tomorrow they play Adams State. If you want to watch that, it'll be on the Mountain West network. It will not be on any other kind of source, except obviously it will be on the radio as well. But again, that's a good game to get them started, get them kind of ready and get going. Really excited to see what Joe Palmer is going to be able to do as well. He's been lighting a fire up in the stands because you see a lot of people now wearing the headbands that he's wearing, things like that. And the stadium is packed right now for the men's, and that is something that you haven't seen in a while for CSU, and that's very exciting in my opinion. When you see those games, when you were able to see them live, man, it's just there's energy going on. And at the same time, you have Isaiah Stevens, who broke the record finally in scoring. I'm not sure if I mentioned that last week or if we kind of just glossed over that, but that is huge. And he is playing very well still in every category. He's being able to assist, all those different things. He is a leader. He is someone, again, I think is going to be a top prospect for a lot of teams. And I just want to, for some of those other things, I look at the women's, and McKenna is still obviously doing her thing. Like we were talking about before, she's kind of how the CSU offense obviously kind of runs through her. She is the person who dictates where the ball goes, if they're going for 3-pointers, if they're going inside. So she's their leader in points per game, leader in assists per game, field goal percentage, all those different things. She is someone who's made a huge impact, and I do expect them to take advantage of this, Mountain Western Conference. It is very good right now looking. There's a lot of good teams. I think you get down to San Diego State, they're 9-4. Then you're finally at Air Force, and they're 7-6, and people are predicting 7 or 8 wins for the season. So the conference is really good. It's difficult. I really like that. And plus, besides that, the Rams have signed some good people for their future. So I'm really excited with the Rams, what they've been able to do.
Jock, we talk about those injury issues that we've seen Cody Williams deal with. I know they've been hit hard, especially in their backcourt with, players like, what's his name, Jalen Strong.
Yeah.
I know he's going to be out with broken wrist, but how are they dealing with those injuries, and how are they going to move forward with that?
Yeah, they've been rotating guys. Like I said, Joe Palmer was someone that I didn't think that would kind of break into the lineup every day, and he's been one of those players who's done it. It's been very exciting to watch him. Like I said, that's how they've been able to do it. They're rotating different guys, keeping them nice and energized. That is what they're doing. Because again, you have a starter that has a wrist injury. It's going to be 6 weeks. As we were talking about, when you have a wrist injury, you really need it. If you're a baseball player, you need your fingers. It can take you out for a long time, even though it seems like a minor injury. So they are doing it by, again, just a team kind of vibe.
And I will just apologize. I was thinking Jalen Strong, player, used to play in the NFL, is Josiah Strong. So I apologize, Rant fans. Don't roast me.
Definitely. And again, I'm very excited what this team can do. They signed many players for each side. Again, being able to look at that, again, it's kind of hard to tell right now where they stand in terms of, their rankings. Each, site has them differently. And I think right now, it's just a solid class for them also. So anything else for CSU? I know we have a special guest coming on, so I didn't want to take too long. Honestly, kind of ran through that. You guys ready to talk a little bit of Air Force, though? You guys can. You guys have a lot to go through.
Let's do it. Yeah,
you want to talk about the boys? I'll talk about the girls.
Let's do it. Yeah,
there you go.
Air Force Falcons have not played kind of, like everybody else hasn't played since the 21st of December. They dropped a close one to Northern Colorado. Northern Colorado won that one in the last 39 seconds. I lost it 83-79. They're 7-5 on the season, on a 3-game losing streak currently. But we start conference play here on the 2nd against a 12-1 Utah State, I believe. So to open up conference play against an opponent who's 12-1 on the year, who looks good in all the phases of the game, guys like Ethan Taylor, who's leading the team right now, averaging 17 points per game and leading in assists as well at 3.2 assists. Keelan Boylan leads the team at 6.9 rebounds. This is going to be an interesting one coming off break. Like we talked about, everybody else, we've had a little long break over here during Christmas. So it's really interesting to see how they're going to come out of the break. 7-5 on 3-game losing streak is not ideal, but I think there's plenty of time. Obviously, we're only 13 games into the season. There's plenty of time to turn it around, make a run in the in the Mountain West here as the season goes on.
Yeah, to me again, it seemed like when it came to the media and just in general, people were thinking this team would be lower even. So right now they're way above expectations. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you look at their beginning schedule, they won 6 in a row, I believe. 6, 7 in a row, looked really good. Then obviously dropped a few, unfortunately, since. But yeah, I think they're definitely above where most people thought they would be, and which is a good sign, and which is great for, looking to build forward. You look at wins here, Lindenwood, William and Mary, Omaha, VMI, South Dakota, Portland, and then they dropped the 3 to East Washington, UT Arlington, and then Northern Colorado. So a lot of good wins in there, along with Long Island. And, a lot of times they're putting up over 80 points a game, 76 points a game. So I think they're definitely above where most people think they are, and we talked about that. It's only positive. And it's great too, coming back off a break. Everybody's healthy to make a long, hard stretch here as the season goes on.
They really have to hit the ground running. Like when you see it, I think their first 2 conference games are against Utah State and Nevada, which are right up there with CSU. I think all 3 of them only have a single loss on the season. I think these first couple games are really going to tell the tale. What do you think, AJ?
100%. I think kind of like we talked about with CU, hitting the ground running fast, hard as you possibly can, right out of break is going to be huge. And against, like we talked about Utah State, Nevada, 2 really well coached teams, and that could be the difference maker in those first two games. Is who out coaches who. It may not be so much the play, but the coaching, it could be instrumental in the few game stretch here going forward.
All right, that brings us to the girls.
Yes, it does.
So, here's what we got going on. We were very fortunate to have Coach Gobrick on about 3 weeks ago. She was talking about her very young program and how the ceiling looks really good. So a couple weeks ago, they got their last win against the UNC Bears, and then they went on a road trip. And to say it was a tough road trip would be an underestimate. So they headed off to Clemson. Clemson they held with for almost a half, and then they ended up ultimately losing. Then they go to Fort Worth, where the football guys were, and they played SMU, and SMU dropped it on them. And so their next task at hand is on Saturday, December 30th, to start conference play at Fresno State. The team is currently 7 wins and 6 losses, led by Milani Perry, number 2. She's been averaging about 16 points a game. Keely O'Halloran, she's at about 11, and so we're going to just play some Falcon ball and hope for the best.
When you think of Falcon ball, real quick, is it about fundamentals, doing things right, making sure that take advantage of all those opportunities when they come? Because I feel like that's this thing that goes for the Rams. They're not trying too hard to do anything; they're just doing their system, operating as they should. Do you feel the same about Air Force, or do you feel like there's some hero ball at times?
No, you know what? It's funny because AJ watching the boys, I'm sure he'll agree that Princeton offense is pretty deliberate. I know both teams, the men's and women's teams, stress defense. You will see some lower scores for the most part, and it's a work in progress. The boys don't even have a senior on their roster.
We've kind of seen that. What you were explaining in the Clemson game is kind of the feeling I got from when CU traveled to Colorado Springs. You see where they're playing teams tough. What is it about the game that's turning from them playing the team strong to learning how to do a complete game and maybe overcome some of those teams, Rick?
Well, that's a good point. I think what it really is, it's going to be about getting the youngsters minutes, and that can be painful in either men's or women's college basketball. It's that learning curve, and it's a little bit steeper at D1, as you can imagine.
Yeah, most definitely, and it's one of those things where if you're talking about Air Force being a little bit younger, it takes time to get that operation going where they're all together, and again, kind of that 5-as-1 I did for offensive line. Same kind of concept with basketball. You need to know each other, need to know what each other is going to do. So I definitely see that down the road, Air Force is going to be kind of working their way up and be a little bit more special than I think people thought, at least anticipated early, because they're doing a great job.
So we not only had a couple basketball things, we had a pretty big bowl game down in Texas. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened there, boys? Because it seemed like we kind of whipped James Madison's ass. Is that true?
Yeah, Rick, you take the hell on this.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. And, I want to give you guys kudos. We all hit our predictions last week. I, of course, was the closest. I guessed 34-20. It was actually 31-21. So the reason I came up with that prediction last week is because the offensive line coach, who became the head coach, because the coaching staff moved to Indiana, he said, when asked, "How have you prepared for the triple option?" And he replied, "We've watched a lot of film. With that being said, if you don't have a scout team that can duplicate what goes on here, you're going to bleed." And they did. They're 61 yards a game. Rushing defense gave up 54 on the first carry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I figured out why I love the Air Force offense so much. For anyone who ever played Madden growing up, you knew that the most unstoppable play was the fullback dive. If you needed a yard, exactly. See, John knows. If you needed a yard, you run fullback dive. And that's basically what the Air Force offense is they pretty much ran fullback dive all the way down the field that first drive, save for one carry by our quarterback. Can you tell us, what was the difference that allowed that middle of the field to just be dominated by the Air Force line?
Well, AG, give your perspective from Oregon. What did you see us doing on the offensive line?
I just thought they were more dominant at the point of attack. I really do. And, our running backs were able to find those creases and find those holes and exploit them. And, and they went forward. They rarely did they go backwards. Everybody ran downhill. Quarterbacks, running backs, whoever had the ball, everybody went downhill. And I think looking at it, this might be the most complete game. Well, this is the most complete game Air Force has played since Colorado State. Obviously dropped 4, Army and on, but this is the most well-rounded team I think Air Force put on the field since that Snow Bowl up in Fort Collins week 7. So I really thought that the point of attack was huge for Air Force. They were more dominant, more physical up front. And, we talked about it briefly last week, how, the point of attack and how good James Madison's defense was, what they were going to do to combat that. And they did what they said they were going to do, and they did it really well.
Yeah, they did.
And going back to a little bit about having that practice scout team kind of quarterback or something like that to prepare for this offense. Do you see other teams using running backs? What do you hear that other teams have to do? Because how do you produce something similar to Larrier, who is a track star? How can someone, predict that and be able to produce that in scout?
Well, I'll tell you what I saw, and I'll give you a specific example that'll involve Tony here. So, in 2019, when CU was preparing for Air Force after beating Nebraska in overtime, they tried to see what they saw on film and put it on the field. Steven Montez was not fast enough to duplicate. Neither was his backup or even the third guy. So they took Laviska Shenault and put him in and tried to duplicate that spread triple option, hold on to the pitch man. And they were unsuccessful too. So it's a lot of people have trouble with it.
It's kind of funny because, again, I'm going to go into the reference category here. If you see Invincible, there's that meme that you come from it where you say, oh, how do you practice for the triple option? That's the neat thing, John. You don't. You don't.
Yeah, you really don't. And it's funny because I grew up just south of Notre Dame. And so for years, Notre Dame and Navy played. And so, again, Navy ran the same offense. And it was on the local news every night how Notre Dame was going to prepare for Navy. And it was the same thing. It was just like you go out there, you put your best front forward and see what happens. And most of the time that fell into Notre Dame's lap or in their favor. But Navy got there. I mean, Ricky Dobbs back in the day, they ran it really well against Notre Dame back then. And so it's one of those, like you talked about, you don't prepare for it. You watch as much film as you can. You may simulate a little bit of it, maybe through air during practice, but outside of that, you don't know what you're getting yourself into until you see it when you line up across from him on Saturday morning.
And didn't James Madison have like 8 starters or so that basically already transferred out and that kind of deal? So they were kind of at a disadvantage. Am I correct there? So, I mean, do you think James Madison was 100% in the game then when you have players that are thinking, hey, this is my last game, I'm leaving to a new place, I want to put some good film out there, maybe try to for later's sake, but were they really in the game, do you think?
They had 11 declare and they had 9 present. They had 2 defensive linemen that chose not to participate. And yeah, that made a huge difference. Some of the numbers that you're going to see, Emmanuel Michel, the MVP of the game, 203 yards on 35 carries. A friend of the program, John Lee Eldridge III, who was on with us last week. John had 8 carries for 78 yards, including a 51-yard run where he would not be denied. And then somebody we're going to be talking to shortly, Bo Richter, 3 sacks, 4.5 tackles for loss, 5 total tackles. I mean, he basically made himself, an NFL prospect right there.
I was going to bring him up. I mean, I figured he was going to come up anyway, but I mean, he was playing like his hair was on fire. Like in the first series, I think he blew up that 3rd and 1 play. I mean, he absolutely dominated the line of scrimmage, and I think seeing that just solidified the NFL trip for me. It was awesome to watch.
I think one thing, again, we're just kind of talking about him before he gets here. Holding that edge, being able to set that edge as well for the run game, keep quarterbacks in the pocket, allow that interior pressure to come from the defensive line or a blitz maybe. I think that's something that he does so well that, is something that an NFL scout will notice, but maybe won't show up in the stats. So those are things that I really love about him as well. Being able to hold the edge, get, make backs take the inside run, let your linebackers do the work. That's where I really love the kind of nasty mentality as well that this Air Force defense had and instilled in all these players.
Yeah, absolutely. And, James Madison essentially only had 26 yards rushing. So with all the negative plays they had 40 something, and then all the negative plays brought it back down to 26. So the defense was flying all over the field. We talked about Bo Richter, young blood. Everybody was all over the field the entire game. And so that's what I'm excited to talk to Bo about is, what did they see in film leading up to the game that they could, use to their advantage and exploit, and they did a good job of it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, speaking of Bo, he's in the waiting room, and I'm going to go ahead and introduce him. He's got some news to share with us today I shared with you guys earlier. Without further ado here, I'd like to introduce the first team all-conference edge rusher. Like I said, 4.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks in the Armed Forces Bowl, Bo Richter.
I don't see Bo in the room quite yet. We'll give him a minute until then. But he will be on the show. And again, when it comes to his announcement and everything like that, I'll let him do that. But what are your thoughts for the future a little bit if you're thinking of Bo Richter?
Well, the speed, right? We saw the motor.
Yeah.
So you might
kind of reminds me of Jonathan Cooper in a weird way. Does anyone agree with that? I mean, I know I'm a Broncos fan. I know you guys have some Bronco tickets. So does anyone agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I watched Cooper at Ohio State. I saw him for 4 or 5 years, however long he was there. So, yeah, I mean, he was a high motor guy, and that's really he dealt with some injuries, but that high motor got him to be a draft pick, and he's performing really well for the Broncos right now.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I keep seeing in him. I see that kind of guy who's just not going to give up on a play, being able to, again, go down the field, and not give up. Let's say on a run play, he'll still run his way all the way to the ball and hope to get some gang tackling. So we're trying to get him on. Don't worry about it. Anything else though that stood out to you guys in this game though, in the bowl game? Anything for the future? Any players that you saw for the first time? Anything like that?
One thing that kind of stood out to me, and it's a little more somber, and I hate to even take this kind of take on it, but seeing Air Force at full strength just makes me think of like what could have been. If that injury is not sustained against Wyoming, and we keep a guy like Larry in and have a full healthy squad, could this have been a team that could have competed against a Liberty or that kind of level in order to move into a New Year's Six game? That's kind of where my mind went. You could obviously see that he was hampered and his play was hampered because of that injury. And man, when he came back, they were just firing on all cylinders.
And it was good to see too, Larry throwing the ball a little bit. He only threw it 5 times, completed 3, but you saw that nice touchdown pass was 45 yards, something like that. Or he had 45 yards total passing. But yeah, he had a 42-yard touchdown pass. So to watch a little, I mean, it wasn't a crazy play. It wasn't a deep seam. It was just a little dump over the middle and a beautiful 42-yard touchdown. And those small things like that are really great to see and really positive because obviously we all know Air Force is not a running team. Or excuse me, they're not a passing team, they're a running team. So to be able to put the ball in the air a little bit when JMU maybe isn't expecting it, because again, they're practicing for the triple option. They're not going to bank on 20, 30 throws a game. 10 maybe on a good day. We only had 5 this game. So to be able to get the ball in the air a couple times, complete 3 passes, that was a really good thing to see.
Yeah, I agree. And Rick, I will let you now go ahead and make an introduction.
All right, this is my second attempt. I would like to introduce Bo Richter, part of the Richter Wrecking Crew on the defense for the Air Force Falcons.
Hello, Bo. Can you hear us?
Can you see us?
There he is.
We can see him.
Hi, buddy. Are you muted or can you speak?
I'm going to pop out and see if that gives us a little bit more.
Can you guys hear me?
Okay.
Let's do that.
We got you. You're on. I just gave you an introduction. You're on with Tony, who you've met, AJ, and then John will pop back in here in a little bit. Tell us about what's going on with you specifically today. Are you there? Looks like you might have froze up on us there.
Yeah, we might be having some audio issues. We'll pull them out for just a second, see if that gets any better. Yeah, I mean, just from a personal standpoint, I know I've had this conversation. It's something I wanted to talk about with Bo. I'm so excited that he's actually declared for the NFL draft. I mean, I think he's a guy that can play at that level, and it's going to be awesome to see. So for those of you that did not hear the news, and we'll let Bo talk about it a little more, went into that decision, he has declared for the NFL draft, and I am pumped to see him make that jump to the next level.
I'm excited. Hey, John, are you aware that we're having some issues with him?
Yeah, I am, and right now I can't even see him visually, so hate to ask him to back out and come back in. It could be the service where he's at, using a phone. But again,
hey, you know what? We've adapted to this kind of stuff all the time.
Yeah.
I'll give him a call and see if we can get him on.
Let's do it that way. That's smart. I am so excited, like you said, though, Tony. I think this is, Bo is someone that you can relate to as a player and all those different things. Like, again, I met him when I went up to Air Force Academy, and he was just so nice, accommodating to us. And that's one of those things where, again, it's beyond just football with these guys. But man, I'm so excited for some of these guys to get into the NFL. The next guy we need to try to convince is Thor. Don't you agree, guys? We do. We need to get him to at least participate in the some kind of event in order to show off his talents, because he's a fantastic center, and once you get a center that you love, 15 years.
Yeah, definitely, and I'll get with AJ. We can get him on here pretty easily.
Awesome.
So Bo just messaged me. He's in that area outside of the Springs. That's a little bit rough. So we'll give it one more shot here in a little bit. And now, John, were you able to watch the bowl game? What was your thoughts on what was going on in Fort Worth?
Yeah, I was able to watch pieces of it. I had some other things going on, but for me, again, it was one of those things where the defense was just so dominant. It felt like it felt like this team got rid of all their demons, were able to talk. I don't know if it was them communicating with each other, just saying, hey, let's take a week off, those kind of things, but they came out and looked like the team that was ranked in the top 25. That's the big thing with me. They looked like the team that they should be, that they should have been. So again, I think that's been said many times by us. They were that kind of team. And again, we were talking about how they were able to stop the run. Those kind of things were very evident with this Air Force team. And again, those nice little things, like you were saying, being able to see some passes thrown in there and have some nice balls in there with a good spiral deep ball, able to get that for a touchdown. Those are those things that I loved in watching that game too.
One of the things I thought was pretty cool is, during those injuries that we were experiencing during the losing streak, one of the guys that broke his collarbone, and AJ had mentioned it on the 42-yard touchdown pass by Zach Larrier, was Jared Rosnos. Rosnos is a baller, right? He wears number 13 because the guy that wore it before him was a guy by the name of Brandon Lewis. Brandon was at times unstoppable, and Jared's just a junior. You'll be seeing a lot more of him. I think the future for this team, it is pretty bright. I think they're going to have some challenges going forward. 40 seniors walked away.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough.
So I can see him moving around down there, so I think the connection might be a little better. So let's add to the stage one more time, Mr. Bo Richter. Thank you for joining us, good sir. I did kind of spoil the announcement. It's one for sure that I was pumped for. I never wanted to tell you my opinion. I wouldn't have swayed you either way. But tell us what went into your decision. Why are you making the jump to play on Sundays?
It was something to do with, you have a great opportunity in front of you with going to the academy. I got, my backup plan is a pretty sweet gig. I would go to Eglin Air Force Base in Destin, Florida. It'd be a great place to live, great place to work. So that was kind of in the back of my mind. But obviously, if I've got a chance at the next level, that's what I'm going to do. And I kind of sat down with Coach Means, who's been kind of my mentor the past 3-4 years at the academy. And he basically said to me, like, I think you have a chance. We've talked in there. They've got you. You're on their radar. So, I think you have a chance, and I think you have an opportunity to play in the NFL. And, that's all I needed to hear. I told him, I was like, I don't think I'd be able to sleep at night 10 years from now if I knew it. I had an opportunity and didn't go after it. So that's kind of, that was the reasoning behind it. And that's what I went with.
That's awesome. I'm going to step away so John can come in and ask you some questions, but I just want to take a little time to personally thank you. I know you've always been super accommodating to me. You sat and had a conversation with my kids, got to meet my wife. You're just an awesome dude, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for you, Bo. Thank you so much for giving us your time. I'm going to let John come in.
You're up, AJ.
Yeah, so Bo, we've talked about, the future, which is extremely exciting for you. Congratulations. We're very happy for you. I want to go back to the bowl game here for a second. Just a couple days ago, you guys faced a JMU, a team who was very good in all phases of the ball. Offensively, they were ranked 21st in passing yards and 92nd in rushing, only averaging about 134 yards per game. And you guys really held them to under 50 yards. What schematically did you guys see the film throughout the week that you maybe could take and use to your advantage going into that bowl game?
They had a lot of good bodies. I know I was a big fan just in watching film. I was a big fan of their tight end.
Looks like he froze up again.
Yeah. I'm trying.
You guys can't hear me?
Oh, I hear you now. You're good.
You've been back. In and out.
You can hear me?
Hey, Bo, real quick.
You guys got me now?
Hey, Bo. Yeah. It's John here. Just real quick, what's the next step for you? Is it, what are you going to do? Get ready for your pro day? What are your next steps, essentially? Are you, thinking about, who to reach out to? What's going on next for you?
Well, next, the biggest thing is figuring out where I'm going to train. Pro day is going to be the biggest part in this process, and I want to get ready for that. I'm thinking about signing an agent here in the next 1 to 2 weeks. I expect to be signed by then, and kind of should have a good idea of where I'm going to train. But that's where my focus is right now. I got to find a place that I'm comfortable with, that I'm confident is going to get me to the next level and give me the tools I need to be successful at pro day.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's, the big step for you is obviously pro day. Do you have any chances of maybe joining, a Hulu Bowl or maybe the East-West Shrine game, anything like that coming up?
Yeah. So I'll be at the College Gridiron Showcase in early January. And I'm hoping to get an invite to either the Hula or the East-West Shrine Bowl from there. I'm still in the works talking to those guys, so that could be coming. But yeah, I'd be looking to play in those games if possible.
Well, buddy, I'll tell you one of the things that I've enjoyed, during my time is, this group of seniors. During your 4 years, 40 wins, only 12 losses. You end your Air Force career beating the number 24 team in the nation. Sum up, what this defense has been the last couple of years that you've been a big part of it.
Really our biggest thing is execution. Our coaches always say it doesn't matter what call we're in, as long as we're all on the same page, we're going to be successful. So we've kind of gone with that mentality. We've gone into a lot of games favored. We've gone into a lot of games unfavored, and with teams favored against us. So I think our mentality as a defense is just like, we know how talented we are. We just have to stay on the same page and execute what the coaches set out in front of us. So I'd say that's our mentality, and I think we've been able to be really successful since I've been here, largely due to the brotherhood that we have. We have a bunch of good guys, and we've been doing it, especially these turnback guys. We've been doing it a long time, and we have a lot of talent. We have a lot of old talent, especially on our defense. I'm confident that the guys will regroup and reload next year. But definitely, the guys that we have on our squad have been doing it a long time and been doing it together for a long time. So I think that's what's made us great, especially in the past, 2-3 years, but since I've been here.
Yeah, and speaking of, you guys doing this all together, is it, a little bit bittersweet that you're not going to be able to be with all these guys at the same time? You guys are going to go in different directions, big things obviously ahead for all of you. But is it somewhat bittersweet that you have to, leave some of these guys and not have those relationships, daily, let's say, like with Rick even? Rick's laughing.
Yeah. I mean, it's I wouldn't even say it's sweet having to leave these guys. It's just bitter. Leaving these guys is, those are my brothers. I'd love to do it again. But our time's up. I think we did a good job with the time that we had. Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot of sweet about leaving these guys that I've been with, my brothers, Rick included, of course. Leaving these guys is not something I've looked forward to over the past couple of months. So, but having been able to have the success we have, it makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to spend more time with these guys, but that's not how it's come out.
Well, unlike these guys, Bo, I'll be there supporting you wherever you end up. And with that being said, I know Bo's got to get going here in a little bit. I think the coolest part of Bo's story is Bo was a guy that did not play organized football until the middle of his high school career. He was a basketball guy, even played a little bit of lacrosse. Wait till organized football, NFL specifically, sees this kid with another couple years under his belt. He's got a motor that you just don't see.
Appreciate that, Rick.
And Bo, I do want to ask one thing.
Go ahead, AJ. Go ahead.
I'll say, yeah, you're a Naperville guy. I'm from Indiana, Midwest boys. And I'm curious I'm familiar with Naperville. I know all the college talent that's up there. I know all the colleges that are up there. I'm really close with Northern Illinois and Coach Hammock and whatnot. And I'm curious, why Air Force? With all the abilities in Illinois and the Midwest, why come out to Colorado?
To be completely honest with you, NIU didn't offer me, and U of I didn't offer me, but U of I maybe would have been an option for me. I'm glad retrospectively that they didn't offer me, because I'm happy with how it turned out. Mm-hmm. But NIU, I don't think I would have chosen that over the academy, mainly because, I was looking for a spot that, like I was saying at the beginning, that was going to set me up on both. You see guys that graduated from Air Force, and these guys are, they're making the big bucks. They're running these big companies. And it's, it's a privilege, and it carries a lot of pride to be a graduate of the academy. So that was the biggest thing that kind of took me out of the hometown was the academics. Cause I know, and we've showed it the past 4 years, but Air Force can play some ball. So that combined with the education, it made my decision easy. I was talking with a guy today, and I basically just said, everyone always talked about how stressful recruiting going into college was, and everyone was so stressful making their decision. And I never felt that way. I thought, it was easy for me once I got my offer from Air Force. It was easy for me to commit, and I was never a type of guy that would look back. I was going, and that was where I was going to be for the next 4 years. And really that stress of making a decision, these past week after the bowl game, making a decision on where I'm going to train, what agent I'm going to sign with, what I'm going to do with my life for the next 2.5 to 4 months. That's been much more difficult than it was to choose a college. So that's, I mean, the education and all that, it carries so much weight, and it made the decision easy for me.
Man, that's good. Bo, I had breakfast with a couple of your former teammates this morning, and so I'm going to give you the same treatment I gave our buddy Brad Roberts. So I'm going to name some of your friends, and I want you to say the first thing that comes to your mind. So we're going to start off with Trey Taylor.
He's a baller, a hard worker.
Alec Mock.
Just an A+ guy, one of my best friends.
Peyton Zadroik.
Bowling ball.
Jake Smith.
Stick on the golf course.
Okay, and I'm going to end it with Brad Roberts.
Brad Roberts is the worst golfer and the worst Call of Duty player and the worst darts player. All this is coming from me leaving his brother's house. But I hope he watches this, and this is a message to him. He can't talk crap about me and get away with it scot-free.
I knew that was coming. Thank you for joining us, bro.
Yep. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you so much. Be well.
Take care.
Yes, sir.
Get Tony back in here. Man, that was great. I mean, just great being able to have these interactions. And going off of what Tammy was saying here, I agree. Go show the NFL that the Service Academy athletes are as good or as, in her opinion, or better than other collegiate athletes. And again, that's one of those things where I think that the NFL needs to. It's not the NFL. The Congress and stuff needs to allow these kids to play in the NFL. I think it's a great recruiting tool.
Yeah, having Tammy comment is pretty cool because Tammy's from Louisiana. She's come up to our Texas games.
Oh, wow.
And definitely big number 8 fan. Bo's a good friend of hers. And, I think it's cool that we do this the way we do. So with that being said, we got about 8 minutes left. I got an announcement to make. And you guys are aware of it. The players, Bo was also aware of it. I am going to be doing things a little different going forward. I'm going to be leaving most of my social media pages with the exception of my personal Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. But the other 10 pages will be distributed. AJ is going to get as many as he wants. And I am going to follow Bo and Trey into the NFL. I'm also going to continue to mentor the underclassmen I have left, but I'm going to do it outside of the spotlight. A lot of people are asking me why this decision to go from super fan to regular fan. And I think it's time. 14 years is a long time to do this. It's been expensive. It's been time consuming. And it's been so worth it, though. I'll tell you, I've made lifelong relationships, not just with the players, but the families, the coaches, and you guys. And I appreciate you letting me be a part of this. I did get AJ in here to replace me. However, I will still be involved. I will still be doing the behind the scenes. I will still be setting up interviews. I will still be available. So don't forget about me.
How could we? How could we, Rick? You're the super fan. You'll always be the super fan to us, even though you're taking a step back. And I think Amy speaks for everyone when we just say, you're the best, Rick. And we're happy to have you here. Mm-hmm. And you couldn't be anywhere else but with us.
Yeah, and Rick, you and I met on Twitter when I was with my old podcast 2-3 years ago now. And when I made the move out here, we've met at a couple Air Force games previously. But I left my old show, and you saw that, and you texted me within, 15, 20 minutes, maybe, and said, hey, I've got a plan. Let's do something. And now you bring me into this. I'm extremely excited about it. I think we have a lot. We've talked about it behind the scenes often, but we have a lot of cool things in the works starting here probably after the new year. And we're really excited to have all of us involved in it because I know you're going to be involved as well. So thank you again for bringing me on and joining Tony and John. It's going to be a good time. I'm really excited about it. And my wife's excited about it too, to be on the field and on the court taking pictures and posting all of our social medias, bringing in a whole new avenue that maybe we didn't have previously.
The good thing, AJ, is we got room for 4. So you can have her go in another room and she can come on. And we definitely would love a female perspective. We cover, women's sports passionately. Mm-hmm. So yes, there's plenty of room. We can do the roughing tag team if you'd like.
I don't see why not. She was a collegiate runner, and so maybe we could do some track and cross country stuff. She can definitely chime in.
Yeah, we need someone to sound down our rough edges there, AJ.
Yeah. This is the comment I think gets me, and I agree with it 100%. Super fan, better human, God bless you, Rick. Yeah, I mean, Rick, there's been times where I reached out to you. I called you when I was struggling with issues. I still, if there's anything going on with me and I have an issue, I know I can reach out to you. I think everyone knows that, on Twitter, hey, if they wanted to, they could send you a message and reach out and talk. Let's say they need to escape from something. I'm sure you would talk Air Force, football with them if you wanted to and help them out through that. You're just, such a great guy that it goes to everyone feels it, and it's just amazing. And I hope that you mean so much to me, obviously to Tony, AJ, you mean so much to us, and obviously the community of Air Force. You got guys that are freshmen that are coming in. Hope I get to meet you when I get to the academy next year. I mean, people still want to be with you, talk to you, understand your experiences, learn from you. So it's one of those things where, again, was talking about with Bo, bittersweet. This just feels a little bitter. He was right. It's hard to say goodbye. This, I know it's not goodbye really, but
no,
it's hard in the sense that I love what we build up. Very excited what we can do next. But like I said, this has been so fun, and I'm excited to that next chapter though. Very excited.
Well, I appreciate you guys, and it means a lot to me. A little choked up. It's not. I'm not leaving. I'm going to be less visible. You can still get a hold of me. With that being said, I think we got maybe a little video to share.
Let's do it.
Well, that was cool to see. And like I said, I know when Tyree came on and was talking to us, you're not going to get away from that easily, Rick. You're still going to be involved. We're still going to pull you in from time to time, but we're just happy we could have you be included and spend time with us, buddy.
Yeah, appreciate all you guys. And yes, I will be on for special things like pro days and stuff like that. And then besides that, I'll be watching and helping as needed.
Awesome. Well, anything else, guys? Because again, otherwise we're just going to keep sobbing, I think, going on. Anything else you guys got?
On a brighter note, Joe Flacco threw for almost 300 yards in the first half. So
that's crazy too. I mean,
Savior.
34-17.
One thing I did want to go with real quick, looking into the national championship. Let's talk about that real quick. Michigan versus Alabama. Who do you all have? I'll start. I have Michigan. I don't have a quite score prediction yet, but that one is something where I'm going with my heart. I'm going with Michigan. Let's go with Tony next.
I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go with Michigan. I think this is just the year. I think this is the time that they step up and actually make a run at this thing. They've had some disappointments in the past, especially that TCU game last year. I think they've learned from it. This is the year. I think Michigan's going to beat Alabama. Let's go with that. I don't have a score, like I said. I haven't looked into that close, but we'll go with Michigan. AJ, what do you got?
I'm going Alabama because I'm a Buckeye, and I despise the state of Michigan. Everything about it, everybody there, I despise. I will never cheer for Michigan. I hate saying their name. I hate even going into the state. So
if your car breaks down in Michigan, you walk back to Ohio?
Woody Hayes did it.
Attaboy.
Woody Hayes did it, so why can't I? But yeah, I have Alabama. They're hitting their stride at the right time.
Rick, what do you got?
Alabama.
We're 2-2. All right, so the other game is Washington against Texas. I say the same thing I said about Michigan. It's Washington's time. Texas is a great team, but I like Michael Penix Jr. I know he's lower down on NFL depth charts or where he's going to be drafted, but I think he's the real deal when it comes to college quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. I'm going Washington, so we're going to set up a Michigan-Washington national championship.
I agree with you, Tony. I think, this is for me, maybe I just want one last swan song for the Pac-12, be able to do it. But I think Washington's able to do it, and it's going to be Washington versus Michigan. So what about you, AJ? What's for you?
Yeah, I have Washington as well. I like Michael Penix. I watched him for a few years at IU, and he was atrocious. That just shows how bad IU football really is. But he goes to Washington, and he's the Heisman Trophy finalist. And that's a total night and day difference because nobody would have expected that 3 years ago when he was in Bloomington. But he's balling out. I think they looked great against Oregon in the Pac-12 championship. I have Washington.
Yeah, Huskies.
All right, guys. We got our
I will say just one thing. I do remember watching him at IU, AJ, but he had one of the most incredible 2-point conversions to win a game that I've ever seen. When you see him completely laid out for that 2-point conversion, I was a fan from there. Yeah. So, sorry, John. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say thank you so much, guys. It's been a fun show. Thank you to Bo Richter for coming on. Just everything. It's been great. Rick, again, we love you. Let's get out of here, guys, and take care, everyone. Bye.
See ya.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flame out. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my life.